Namaskar, good morning to all of you. Very, very warm welcome to this virtual discuss. This is the 13th virtual discourse we are organizing. I very, very warmly welcome all of you here. I warmly welcome Madam Sarah, who has joined us from United States. We are extremely grateful to her that she has made time for us at this odd hour. Good evening to you. We are eagerly looking forward to hearing from you a little while from now. I warmly welcome our former speakers and all other dear friends who have joined us from other parts of the world and from India. This is our 13th virtual discourse, and it's on a very crucial theme, as you can see today. And in a short while from now, we'll be hearing Madam Sarah. As always, we seek the blessings of God before we start the program. We know that the words of God and prayers, they have incalculable value on the human heart, and they will permeate a tranquil ambience here, and they will also have immense effect on those people who are in distress. Let's start the prayers. I would like to request Adib to start the prayer on the computer, and the second prayer will be followed by Mr. Uttam.
और अपने ऐसे सेवकों हे तू जो स्वामियों का स्वामी है, मैं साक्षी देता हूँ कि तू है समस्त सृष्टि का स्वामी और सभी दृश्य अदृश्य प्राणियों का शिक्षक। मैं साक्षी देता हूँ कि संपूर्ण ब्रह्मांड तेरी शक्ति के अधीन है और पृथ्वी की समस्त शक्तियां भी तुझे भयभीत नहीं कर सकती और नहीं तुम्हारे उद्देश्य को पूरा करने में सम्राटों और राष्ट्रों की प्रभु सत्ता तुम्हें रोक सकती है। मैं स्वीकार करता हूँ कि संपूर्ण विश्व को नवजीवन देने और लोगों के बीच एकता की स्थापना करने तथा उनकी मुक्ति के अतिरिक्त तुम्हारी और कोई इच्छा नहीं है। हे तू जो स्वामियों का स्वामी है, मैं साक्षी देता हूँ कि तू है समस्त सृष्टि का स्वामी और सभी दृश्य अदृश्य प्राणियों का शिक्षक। मैं साक्षी देता हूँ कि संपूर्ण ब्रह्मांड तेरी शक्ति के अधीन है और पृथ्वी के समस्त शक्तियां भी तुझे भयभीत नहीं कर सकती और नहीं तुम्हारे उद्देश्य को पूरा करने में सम्राटों और राष्ट्रों की प्रभु सत्ता तुम्हें रोक सकती है। मैं स्वीकार करता हूँ कि संपूर्ण विश्व को नवजीवन देने और लोगों के बीच एकता की स्थापना करने तथा उनकी मुक्ति के अतिरिक्त तुम्हारी और कोई इच्छा नहीं है।
Thank you so much, Mr. Uttam, for your soul uplifting chant. So wonderful to hear prayers with the musical instrument. So, dear friends, once again, I warmly welcome all of you here to our 13th virtual discourse. I once again welcome Madam Sarah Dehoff, our keynote speaker today. Dear friends, you know that these programs are monthly or sometimes bi-monthly, organized by the members of the Baha'i community. We have mentioned in the past that this series of programs focus mainly on raising awareness and education of the people on various social and spiritual issues. The primary and fundamental goal of the worldwide Baha'i community is to attain the oneness of humankind and oneness of religions and oneness of God. Through raising awareness and training of spiritual capacity of the people and transformation of the people, we believe that such goals can be achieved. This is a very small initiative in this direction. We are truly grateful to all of you for making time for us and to join this discourse. For the benefit of those friends who are joining for the first time and have missed the other programs in the past, we are delighted to inform you that the recordings of this discourse and the deliberations are all live on YouTube channel, and you can watch them as per your convenience. I will share the link of the channel in the chat box. Adi, please do share the link, and please do share with the other friends who have missed the program and they wish to see the recordings on the YouTube. Please do support the channel and publicize this small initiative for maximum participation of the people. And we know that increased support and participation will further expand the magnitude of awareness and education on the issues that we discuss here. And it will make people aware of their God-given potential, and their inescapable responsibility towards our children, our future generations, and our common future together. Those of you who are joining for the first time, please do share your contacts, your email, and your mobile in the chat box for inviting you again and for sending you further communications in the future. Now, before we introduce our keynote speaker today and the subject of discussion, I will just take a few minutes, particularly for the benefit of those people who are joining for the first time, the purpose of these programs. As I mentioned a short while ago, these programs are organized by the members of the Baha'i community, which is perhaps the most diverse body of people on this planet. It actually represents the microcosm of the human race, because in the Baha'i community, almost the background of all the people are represented. It is due to the beautiful teachings of the Baha'i faith, like oneness of God, oneness of religions, and oneness of humanity. Within a very short span of time, we find the worldwide Baha'i community established in almost all the countries and territories of the world. The Baha'is work relentlessly for the unification and betterment of humankind, and for the community itself, enriching the understanding through education remains at the center of all its activities. You know that every human being, we believe, is noble, is rich in gems of inestimable value, and only education and awareness can cause these treasures to be revealed, and they can contribute to the society. Human beings, as we know, are the highest creation of God. They are distinct from all other forms of life. They have the power of intellect and the power to segregate the truth from error. So our effort in this direction is to raise awareness, enrich their understanding, guide them to make the right decision, and to contribute positively to the betterment of the society. As we observe today, ignorance or inadequate understanding on social and existential issues or concepts related to the purpose of human life, they cause most of the prejudices among us and contributes to the social ills that afflicts us. It is in this context we organize this kind of programs, that affects all of us on the critical issues. We seek to inspire positive consciousness within the hearts and minds of people so that they become responsible for their own growth and to contribute positively to the society. The Baha'i community undertakes tens of thousands of educational initiatives across the world for moral education of children, young adults, and even the study sessions for the adults to build unifying visions in them to work towards a better future for all of us. Our programs are highly participatory in nature. We want to hear everyone and involve them in the educational process to build vibrant communities around us, vibrant neighborhoods around us, starting from our family members to all those who are living in our neighborhoods. Each one of us responsible and accountable for our common future. There is no room for the observers and passive listeners. We wish to consult, work together, create love and unity, a unifying vision within everyone, which will contribute to nation building and to realize our dream of one world, one family. We wish to transform our outdated way of thinking to cultivate holistic understanding on the concepts and realities of human existence, to understand the true nature of human beings, the spiritual realities, and to enhance our capacity to serve, to build vibrant and prosperous neighborhoods around us. So, dear friends, let us initiate conversations, discuss the contemporary issues, share our concerns, and spread the positive ideas to facilitate humanity's passage to maturity, to bring about a better society where there is no conflict and misery, and we all will be able to live together in peace and harmony. We strongly believe that these are not imaginary ideas, but these will be realized in the time to come. But it depends on our efforts, how relentlessly we work towards the goal. So I request all of you to actively participate in the program. Please show your hands to speak, publicize our program to wider society, invite your friends, neighbors, colleagues, and help this small initiative. Let us work together for a better future for our children and forthcoming generations. Dear friends, the theme of our discourse today is evolving beyond money, focusing on well-being as the true wealth. So let us understand the subject. Then I will introduce to you our keynote speaker today. The subject is very interesting, and it relates to the lives of all of us. We know that money rules over everything in the society and in our personal lives. Whenever we take any decision, we think of money as an individual, as a family, even in the institutions of society, the influence of money and material benefits are fundamental to influence any decision. So everything is measured in monetary terms, when we assume that it actually benefits us. The question is, has it truly benefited us? You can know that we observe that wealth in reality has not benefited more than half of the people of this planet. They still struggle to have basic necessities of life. Numerous examples, can be cited on the erroneous decisions of the individuals, families, and governing institutions, which had had devastating impact on our society. We can see the professional misconduct, we can see the family breakdowns, high human toll in the recent pandemic are some of the glaring instances we can see. Our obsession with money and material possessions have pushed us to pursue vigorously our personal interests, our entitlements. We have lost our mind. What it means to be human, we have forgotten. The human greed, ambition, and despair that we see around us are in reality the result of our own creation. So is there a way out? Is there a way out for a better society for our children? How do we course correct? We suggest to consider composite well-being of people as the prime factor, the pivot around which the human life and its affairs have to run. We must advance, we must evolve beyond money and focus on well-being for common good and to sustain life. We have today Madam Sarah Dehoff from USA, who will be discussing this subject and share her valuable insights and thoughts with us. Madam Sarah Dehoff is an author. She is a freelance writer, a wonderful storyteller, and an excellent educator. She has decades of experience of working with various groups. She writes about community building, working together, and developing a learning mindset. She did her master in education from Harvard University and has lived and worked in China, Japan, Taiwan, and Czech Republic. She is a faculty member of the Wilmette Institute in USA and teaches subjects related to social transformation. We are very grateful to her to kindly accept our invitation and to address us at an odd hour. It is Saturday late night in USA, and many, many thanks to you, and we're grateful to you that you have kindly agreed to address our gathering. May I kindly request Madam Sarah to unmute yourself and to start addressing us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So here in America, we tell ourselves the story about a young man, a young woman who starts with nothing. Maybe they sell newspapers on the street and eventually work their way up through the company and become manager, work really hard and become successful, perhaps even owning that company. So this rags to riches story we tell ourselves has kind of become part of our mythology. And can you kind of picture that story of starting with nothing, working really hard and becoming fabulously wealthy? And what would that look like? What would that fabulous wealth allow you to do? Maybe you want to put in the chat what you could buy if you were fabulously wealthy. What would that picture look like? What would you be able to purchase if you had all of that fabulous wealth? Fancy and expensive cars.
Madam Sarah, are you expecting response from the audience?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. I
the
think
audience could put it in. There we go.
Okay.
Holiday.
The audio, the format of the discourse is that you address us, and then the friends will ask you questions and share their comments.
Great, perfect.
So please go ahead.
All right, we'll keep going then.
Yes.
So imagining that fabulous wealth, now take a moment, close your eyes and breathe. What is the wealth that you experience? When you breathe that in, what is that wealth? That air, right? This is something that we take for granted, that we just breathe. We breathe in and breathe out. We don't even think about it. But that air is wealth as well. I live on the west coast of the United States in near Portland, Oregon. And it rains a lot here, but in the summers it's often very dry. And wildfires are not uncommon. One day in September, 2 years ago, the wind picked up and it blew really hard. It blew from the east. It was hot and dry. I'd never seen a wind like that, especially in the summer. And it blew for days. And it fanned the flames of those wildfires. And suddenly we couldn't breathe. Those wildfires became a conflagration. Somebody on the next ridge over from where we lived lit a campfire and it got out of hand. And so the fire was near us. This is what the sky looked like from my house. One day the sky was red. Most of the time the sky was dark, this ugly brown. The smoke was so bad that we couldn't go outside for more than a few minutes. This air that we take for granted, this wealth, suddenly became very obvious how precious it is. And no amount of money can replace that, right? We can't breathe coins. We've been taught to believe that money is wealth, but really that's just a symbol. Our wealth is the things that keep us alive and make life worth living. Right now we measure a country's economy in terms of GDP, right? The gross domestic product. But that doesn't take into account the costs of that wealth, the costs of creating this monetary wealth. We have a system that creates huge incentives for making profits, but pushes the cost of those profits onto society and onto future generations. But what if we turn this around? What if we started thinking in terms of our actual wealth rather than the symbol of it? We'd have a completely different picture. Let me give you an example. The Coast Salish people in Washington State, the state just north of me, among these tribes, the closest ties and the villages were within a single watershed. So in Washington, the mountains kind of slide down into the sea, or drain down into the sea. And so that watershed, all of those villages in that watershed are all connected. And so the villages near the seashore would harvest shellfish, they would fish actually harvest whales. And in the lowland woodlands, they would hunt deer, maybe the people would grow crops. Up in the upriver, they would hunt salmon, they would catch the salmon and fish. And up in the mountains, they collected the huckleberries and the other berries that grew in the mountains. And throughout this watershed, all of these villages shared this food. Food was not for sale. It was everybody collected, everybody harvested, and everybody shared the food. So everybody had a variety of foods to eat. Everyone had huckleberries, even when the folks that lived near the shore, and everybody had fish. In America, here in the United States, what our food is, everything is for sale, right? And so the market drives the prices of the food. And so the food that is best for us and best for the planet, the organic fruits and vegetables, these are the most expensive. And so a large part of the population lives on cheaply manufactured food that has little nutritional value, and the whole system is upside down. Here, as I started looking at this idea of a watershed and these villages that shared that food, I also started thinking about water and what does my watershed look like? So I live in the Tualatin Valley watershed, and on our property, we live out in a rural area, and we have about 3.5 acres, almost 3.5 acres. And on either side of the property, there are these dry creek beds that there's water running in the winter. And when the snow runs, it really runs, right? And so the water runs down and it disappears and bubbles up out of a gopher hole a little farther down. And these two creek beds converge at the bottom of our property. And there's a fence that separates our property from the neighbors, and the debris has kind of piled up. So when the water's running, it forms a little waterfall and goes over that debris and over that fence and into the neighbor's yard, and the creek continues on. And it continues on down the hill to the Tualatin River, and the Tualatin River meanders along and flows into the Willamette River, which flows up north. The Willamette River flows into the Columbia and on out to the sea. And so this is the watershed. What you're seeing here is Henry Hagg Lake. And during those wildfires, that airplane that you saw in the previous slide, these were float planes, and they would fly over this lake and tank up with water so that they could put out the wildfires. So this is my watershed. This is where the water comes from. And so when I look at this, what is the state of that watershed? What is the state of the water? We've got farmers that grow crops on these hills, and some of those fields get sprayed. And so that spray goes into the land and into the water. And what is the state of that water then? How well are we maintaining it? What is the condition of the water? So as we're looking at wealth, we start looking at the things that keep us alive, that air, that water, that food. But wealth is more than just the physical things that keep us alive. Wealth is knowledge as well. Wealth is spiritual and intellectual wealth. The knowledge that we've accumulated as a human race. If we thought of knowledge as wealth, how does it flow? How does it grow? Our current money economy is based on scarcity. And if a resource is scarce, it's more valuable and you can charge more for it. And so you end up with resources that are out of reach for most people. There's a retired ecologist who has written numerous articles and published in academic and professional journals. But now that he's retired, he's not subscribed to those journals, so he can't even access his own work that he created because it's owned by those journals. And so how do we think about our knowledge as wealth. The ironic thing is that knowledge is only valuable if it's shared. If no one reads those articles, they're of no use. In fact, knowledge is a wealth that actually increases the more you use it. As we read something, it sparks new ideas. And then we have another brainstorm, right? We come up with another way of doing things, and we put ideas together and we come up with more innovations. We can think of wealth as spiritual wealth as well. These are qualities that we develop within ourselves of generosity, of kindness, of justice, of trustworthiness. And the more we develop these qualities, the more we see these qualities reflected in our communities. And when our communities are kind and just and equitable, the easier it is to become more like this ourselves. So there's this reciprocity between the community and the individual. And we elect officials who have these qualities of justice and equitableness. And our institutions then develop policies that are just and equitable. And this lifts oppression off of whole segments of the population. These individuals are then free to pursue opportunities to develop their capacities, which increases not only our spiritual wealth, but our knowledge wealth as well. And as all members of society gain capacities and put them to use in productive work, then our employment wealth increases as well. Everybody contributes and everybody benefits. Everybody's working to serve the needs of the society, the needs of the community, and the community reciprocates. One of those spiritual qualities, or that spiritual wealth, is unity. And I'm watching firsthand right now how essential this quality is. The Baha'is are embarking on a 9-year project of building community and contributing to this transformation of society. And in launching this endeavor, we've been asked to hold conferences, large and small, in every part of the world. But we're used to going to conferences. You know, we go there, somebody else has planned it, there's wonderful speakers, and maybe there's breakout groups and discussions and lots of social time and good food, right? I mean, we've all been to a conference. Everything is planned for us. But this time is different. This time, we're having to figure this all out ourselves. And people are starting to get really kind of freaked out, right? What are our instructions? How do we know if we're doing it right? But luckily, we've had some very wise people walking along beside us through this process and reassuring us that we'll figure it out. The most important thing is to be unified, to gather all the different opinions on how to go about planning these conferences, to sift out the best ideas, to step forward, try something, reflect on it, and adjust. And we're learning to calm ourselves down. And in the process, we're realizing that yes, we don't know what we're doing. Yes, we've never done this before. Yes, we'll probably stumble and make mistakes, but we're in this together and we can give each other a lot of room. We can be patient with one another and patient with ourselves because we have a common goal and we're walking steadily toward it together. And so this unity is another wealth that we have, that we can develop and we can expand. And think about what would happen if that unity wasn't present. We'd be arguing about details and my plan is right and my plan is best. I know how to do it right. We get mired in this disunity and we wouldn't accomplish a thing. So unity is essential in this expanded view of wealth as well. And so what is the state of our wealth, right? Abdu'l-Baha, the son of Baha'u'llah, who is the founder of the Baha'i faith, described the human body, humanity as like the human body. And each of us are cells in the body. We band together to form organs and muscle and bone. When we work together in harmony, the body is healthy. But when we bicker and fight, the body of humanity becomes burdened with disease and ceases to function well. So when we think of this body of humanity, what fosters its well-being, right? What feeds this body of humanity? What is the state of our air and our water and our soil? What food are we feeding this body of humanity? Is it healthy food? Does everybody have food? How easily does knowledge and learning flow through the system? How kindly do the cells, the people, interact with one another? Are we finding our purpose and working toward it? What is the state of our well-being as wealth? We've established accounting systems to measure our money, right? To measure our monetary wealth. How do we shift to a system that measures these other wealths? What is that ideal state for our air, for our water, for food for everyone? How do we know if we're moving toward that ideal state or moving away from it? And if you look at your city or your community, what is the state of that wealth? What in your local community, in your local area, what does the state of the air, right? 2 years ago, our air was really, really smoky. It was hard to breathe. Today is better. What is the state of the water and the soil? Does everyone have enough food? Is it healthy food? Does everyone have the education they need to develop their unique talents and potential? Are they putting those talents to work in service to society? Are people developing these spiritual qualities of trustworthiness and kindness and generosity? Is there cooperation and collective action? Is there unity? How do we measure these things? That's the conversation that's starting to take place, and it needs all of us from every profession and every background. How are we creating an accounting system of global accounts? What would it look like if we could see clearly the state of our wealth in our community, in our nation, in our world? How would we steward it? And what can we do now? In the United States, we have a series of national and state public parks. And these are beautiful places and are designed to preserve the natural area. But that's not enough. What we're looking for is what is starting to happen here in the States is a movement to create, to help landowners, large and small, become a part of this process of rebuilding biodiversity. So they're encouraging landowners to plant native plants on their property to help restore habitat, preserve biodiversity. And if we all plant just one seed and nurture it, we start to connect to the earth that sustains us. And in our area, if that one seed is a zucchini plant, you're going to be feeding your entire neighborhood, right? Because these plants just produce a tremendous amount of food. The thing is that this is our wealth. It's all of our wealth, all across the globe. It belongs to all of us, and we all have a role in stewarding it. So whether you turn off your faucet quicker to keep that water wealth preserved, or you plant a tomato plant, or show kindness to someone who is different from yourself, you're helping to restore and steward that collective wealth that we have as a human race. So this global systems accounting, there's a growing conversation around that accounting system for how do we measure and how do we account for the multiple aspects of our wealth. In November this past year, the UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, the results of that conference were not exactly stellar. And this retired ecologist I was mentioning before, Arthur Dahl, started asking, why do we still have systems in place that incentivize the wrong behaviors? We incentivize the profit-making behaviors, but we're not incentivizing sequestering carbon in the ground, for instance. Why can't we create an accounting system that measures the things that really matter, not just profits for the few? And so now in this conversation, there are working groups grappling with areas such as knowledge and education and biodiversity and health and carbon and food, work and employment, pollution or clean air, water and soil, minimum living standard. How do we eliminate poverty? spiritual capital. And these groups are striving to describe a system of accounts clearly enough that professionals in each of these fields can take it and run with it. How do we create indicators? How do we identify indicators that help us understand if we're moving toward that ideal state of everyone is fed and everyone is eating healthy food? Or what are the indicators that tell us that we're moving away from that ideal state? And in these conversations, one of the most important things is how do we avoid those typical ego clashes that tend to drive people apart? The Baha'is are learning deeply about the skill of consultation. The point of search out the truth, to find what's really going on and come to a consensus around the wisest path forward. And we can't do this if we're insisting on our own viewpoints. So it's like this lantern. In each of these facets, we each see the lantern from a different angle, right? So we each see a different side. And some of us are seeing bubbles. And some of us are seeing the side that has the vines and the leaves. And another person sees the angle from this bead-like shape here. And it's important that we all describe what we see. We all see an issue from different angles. But the real essence of it, what we're really trying to do is to see the flame inside, to see the light inside, to see that truth of what's really happening. And so we need to go beyond our own viewpoints and put it all together. And this lantern also describes us as individuals. Baha'u'llah says, "O son of being, thou art my lamp, and my light is in thee. Get thou from it thy radiance, and seek none other than me. For I have created thee rich, and have bountifully shed my favor upon thee." So again, here, that's that inner wealth, right? That truth within ourselves. Oops. Somehow I closed this window. Hold on. So the last part that I wanted to share, and it's, bear with me here. I rolled my mouse and it just disappeared. Okay, so one of the things that I'm most interested in with this conversation is how do we have this conversation at a local level? How do we have this conversation at the community level? And so just if each of us were to provide our intuitive sense of what is the state of our biodiversity, what is the state of our clean air and water and soil, if we had many people putting those, creating a score on each of those elements, then we'd probably get a pretty good sense of where our community is at with these different types of wealth. And then that gives us a sense of how do we work with that? What can we do in our communities to develop and steward and increase that wealth that gives us life, that wealth that makes life worth living, that wealth that builds our communities and allows us to create vibrant communities. So I've got this document, and I can put it in the chat. If you're interested, you can take a look at it in your community and see what wealth looks like in your community. So that's a brief overview of this idea of well-being as wealth, going beyond money, going beyond monetary wealth, and looking at what is it that makes life beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Madam,
very much for welcome.
For your illuminating address. You have shared with us how we can go beyond money. You have told us the limitations of money. We have to develop a system for measuring the true wealth, the natural endowments, the spiritual qualities, how they can be our true wealth, because that sustains life. How we are incentivizing the profit-making behaviors, and how we have to encourage the alternative system of ensuring well-being. How we can encourage the behavior that ensures well-being and that protects the natural endowments. How we can raise conversations about the wealth that sustains life. Beautiful ideas. I'm sure the friends have benefited a lot from your thought-provoking sentences. I'm sure they will raise the observations when the floor will open. Friends, there is a need for us to understand from this address, as Madam Sarah has drawn our attention, that we have to understand the higher purpose of life. How do we raise our consciousness to evolve beyond money and material possessions, to focus on human well-being, to make decisions? We struggle to be ethical and mature, to make right decisions, selfless decisions. We believe the only way we can advance towards maturity is to immerse ourselves in the ocean of words of God that are available to us through various messengers of the Creator who appear from time to time. We have to learn to practice their commandments in our daily lives. That's why in our programs, what we do is to read and introspect some of the passages that we extract from various sacred scriptures. So I will now request Dr. Merchant. Dr. Merchant, are you there with us, Dr. Merchant? Yeah. So I request Dr. Merchant kindly read the relevant motivational quotes that we have prepared for today for our inspiration and introspection. Dr. Merchant, you have a poor. Dr. Merchant, you have a poor audio system. We can't hear you at all. Are you traveling? Okay. Adib, can you please mute Dr. Merchant? There is some disturbance going on. Okay, I will read it myself until Dr. Merchant reaches the destination. These are the motivational quotes we have for today, extracted from the holy writings, extracts from the Bhagavad Gita. I'm successful, I'm powerful, I'm happy. I will perform sacrifices and give gifts and rejoice in my own generosity. This is how they go on, deluded by ignorance, bound by their greed and entangled in a way of delusion, willed about by a fragmented mind. They fall into a dark hell. They abuse my presence within their own bodies and in the bodies of others. Let the scripture be your authority in determining what should be done and what should not be done. You should perform your duty following the spiritual injunction. The ignorant work for their own profit. The wise work for the welfare of the world without thought for themselves. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world. By devotion to selfless work, one attains the supreme goal of life. Extracts from Holy Quran. The life of this world is merely the enjoyment of delusion. wealth and children are the adornments of the life of this world. By what which endures, such as righteous deeds, are better in reward to thy Lord. And squander not your wealth wastefully. Surely the squanderers are the devil's brother, and the devil is ever ungrateful to his Lord. Are you content with the life of this world rather than with the hereafter? Yet the enjoyment of the light of this world compared with the hereafter is but little. O you who believe, forbid not the good things which God has made lawful for you, and exceed not the limits. As for those who disbelieve, they take their enjoyment and eat as the cattle eat. Go forth in the way of God, lightly or heavily, and strive with your wealth and yourself in the way of God. That is better for you if you but know. A man's true wealth is the good he does in this world. Extracts from the Holy Bible. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him, and the world is passing away along with its desires. But whoever does the will of God abides forever. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Those who trust in their riches will fall, but the righteous will thrive like a green leaf. Sell your possessions and give to the needy. Provide yourself with the money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, and be transformed by renewing your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Extracts from the Buddhist scriptures. Times of luxury do not last long, but pass away very quickly. Nothing in this world can be long enjoyed. It is not life and wealth and power that enslave men, but the clinging to life and wealth and power. The root of suffering is attachment. A kind man who makes good use of wealth is rightly said to possess a great treasure, but the miser who hoards up his riches will have no profit. To live a pure, unselfish life, one must count nothing as one's own in the midst of abundance. Contentment is the greatest wealth. Give, even if you have a little. If you knew what I knew about the power of giving, you wouldn't let a single meal pass without sharing it in some way. Extracts from the Baha'i writings. You see all around you the proof of the inadequacy of material things, how joy, comfort, peace, and consolation are not to be found in the transitory things of the world. Is it not then foolishness to refuse to seek these treasures? In earthly riches, fear is hidden and peril is concealed. Some men's lives are solely occupied with the things of this world. Their minds are so circumscribed by exterior manners and traditional interest that they are blind to any other realm of existence. They think and dream of earthly pain, of material progress. They curb not their lower propensities. They eat, drink, and sleep. It is true that these necessities must be dispatched. Life is a load which must be carried on while we are on earth. But the cares of the lower things of life should not be allowed to monopolize all the thoughts and aspirations of human beings. Men should hold in their souls the vision of celestial perfection. The happiness and greatness, the rank and station, the pleasure and peace of an individual have never consisted in his personal wealth, but rather in his excellent character, his high resolve, the breadth of his learning, his ability to solve difficult problems. Man's distinction lies not in ornaments or wealth, but rather in virtuous behavior and true understanding. The best of men are they that earn a livelihood by their calling and spend upon themselves and upon their kindred for the love of God. The Universal House of Justice, Baha'i World Center writes, Baha'u'llah has affirmed that to every end has been assigned a means for its accomplishment. A natural conclusion to be drawn from reflection on this fundamental principle is that vigilance must be exercised in distinguishing means from ends. Otherwise, what is intended as a mere instrument could easily become the goal of individual's life. The acquisition of wealth is a case in point. It is acceptable and praiseworthy to the extent that it serves as a means for achieving the higher ends, for meeting our basic necessities, for fostering the progress of one's family, for promoting the welfare of society, and for contributing to the establishment of the world civilization. But to make the accumulation of wealth a central purpose of man's life is unworthy of every human being. Okay, the next program is, I hope you have enjoyed the holy quotes that we prepared for today, and I'm sure it has captured our imagination and inspired us to walk the right path prescribed by the various messengers of God that have appeared from time to time. Okay, dear friends, now I request all of you to switch on your videos that we're going to take a group photograph. So I request all of you to please switch on your videos. Adi, please tell me when it is done. Okay, thank you, friends. Friends, so before we open the floor for comments and questions, we're going to have a song. We have Madam Pina with us, who has kindly agreed to sing a song for us. It will refresh our mind and spirit and to remove our serious faces, to have a just light moment. Madam Pina, are you there? Yes, please.
Yes, I'm here.
Please.
Okay, so good neighbors, having good neighbors means having good wealth and prosperity and also a vibrant community. Good neighbors come in all colors, black, red, yellow, or tan. Our outside may look different, but we belong to the family of man. When my neighbor doorbell starts to ring, I can see the ringer's skin. Even if he has bright blue skin, I'll welcome him right in. Good neighbors come in all colors, black, red, yellow, or tan. Our outside may look different, but we belong to the family of man. When my neighbor starts to cry, it hurts him and that hurts I. Even if he has orange eyes, it hurts him when he cries. Good neighbors come in all colors, black, red, yellow, or tan. Our outside may look different, but we belong to the family of man. When my neighbor wants to share and happiness everywhere. Even if she has purple hair, I wouldn't even care. Good neighbors come in all colors, black, red, yellow, or tan. Our outsides may look different, but we belong to the family of man. Yes, we belong to the family of man and woman. Of man.
Thank you so much, Madam Sarah, for this beautiful song. Yes, we belong to one human family. Okay, now it is the time for comments and observations to the presentation of Madam Sarah. So I request the friends to participate actively and to share your comments and observations. Show your hands in case you want to share your views or ask questions. I request the friends to actively participate whatever we have learned from her presentation. So before I keep the floor open, I was just thinking, if Madam Sarah could share, to make it more clearer from her presentation, that whatever I have understood, if we can give some examples, for example, in our personal life, because the idea of having this discourse is to emphasize on the role of individuals in the society, how we have accountability, we have responsibility in our life to do something about it. Because I have heard from my friends, from my colleagues at workplace, at other places, they all complain about the system. They all complain that, everything is wrong around us. What can I do? I'm alone. So this kind of mindset has to go. We have a lot of things we can contribute in our individual lives, and not to be a cynic, and create ideas that we can contribute positively to the society. So if Madam Sarah could share some examples, what individuals could do, the small things in their lives, give some ideas, that will be very helpful before I open the floor.
Thank you. So examples of individuals and what we can do in our wealth. And so one day I was turning on the water faucet and realized, oh, that's wealth that's just flowing down the drain. And so in our house, it takes a long time for the water to heat up at the kitchen sink. And so I've started taking a dishpan out to the garage and getting the water for the dishes water to get warm water to the dishes. I mean, it's a tiny little thing, but it's really changing how I think about what our wealth is and how we steward it. The plants too, the biodiversity, that has really been striking to me, and that there's so much that we individually can do, even if it's just growing a plant in our yard or on our balcony. We're planting native plants in our yard, and we're planning to make a native meadow, and removing invasive species. And so whatever plot of land we have, we can work with that land and help provide habitat for butterflies, for caterpillars, for birds. These are just a few small things.
Wonderful, thank you. Some of the examples that I can share to consolidate or to reinforce the idea that you are sharing, if my brother or my son or my daughter has got a job in an industry, the job is quite hazardous, but it is very well paying. But at the same time, there is another possibility of having a job which is healthier for her, and she can contribute in some way to the society. Also, it is less paying. I would prefer the second one. I wouldn't prefer the first one. So these are just small examples for us to understand the decisions that we do in our life, or to help someone to get something inappropriate from a government agency, or helping the person to get it. It's unethical. It's quite unethical on our part to do so, because we are encouraging something which is not right, and then probably we are one of our family members or our children is trying to get admission in one of the elite institutions by paying illegal donations. That's something that we shouldn't be doing, just because that we want to secure the admission and the person will be very good professional. We are doing something unethical, and again, the focus on money should go away. So these are the individual decisions in our life we should probably avoid, and focus on human well-being, which is quite composite, physical, intellectual, and how it contributes positively to the society. My friend, I have just requested recently to one of my friends, he works for a government agency, because of the budgetary constraints, one of the government has decided to paint the street furnitures instead of working for a sanitation project. So he is very active to negotiate with the government agencies that please do not do this. Painting can wait, but sanitation program is of high priority and it should be pursued first. So that's how you mobilize the public opinion. Even if the public authorities, they have the power to decide anything, as individuals, we can always request, we can always write, we can always raise awareness, and people together can approach the authorities to change their plans in order to concentrate or focus on well-being rather than revenue or money or whimsical decision making. So these are just ideas I wanted to share that relates to the presentation of Madam Sarah. Okay, now you show me the hands. I see one hand up. Can I request? I cannot see the name, but if you switch on your videos, please share your observations. Yes. Oh, that is Dr. Radha Rost. Yes, please.
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'm really impressed at what Sarah said and what you explained from the Universal House of Justice advised the Baha'is to have neighborhood conferences and consult in that conference the issues and problems which are existing in your own neighborhood, in your own area. And I see that that really helps. So if they can find out what are the issues concerning them, then they prioritize the most important issue, the second important issue, the third, and list it down, and then see who can do what to solve these issues. And let everybody consult again to see how they can solve the issues. And then when they find it, they can solve the issues. So one issues are solved because consultation will give you the way of how to go about solving the issues. I'll give you just one example. There was one person in Canada. She went to one of the villages. She was asked by the government to go and ask the friends to immunize the children. Okay, she went there to talk about immunization, and the villagers and the community said, we have problems with dogs. We want to get rid of the dogs first. Okay, she said, I tried many times to talk to them, but they wouldn't listen to my immunization program. She said they wanted to know how to get rid of the dogs because they're really biting people and causing problems. Then she said, okay, let me see what I can do. She went back to the government and said, the local government said, can you please do something to get rid of the dogs in the country, in this area? And they said, okay, we will do that, what we can do. And they solved the issues of the dogs. Then next time she didn't go, but the villagers went to her and said, can you tell us what we had come to talk about the immunization program? We want to hear from you. Because one problem was solved, they were very happy, and then they were ready to solve the other problems. Okay, so I think it is what the House of Justice wants right now, that people in the neighborhood should come and consult together and put down the issues of the problems what they have in the society, or whatever they would like to do in the society. If maybe not a problem, but they would like to do something which is constructive. or useful to the community, and then prioritize the most important, second important, third important, and then do that and see how they can solve it. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much for listening to me so patiently.
Thank you so much, Dr. Radharos. Thank you so much for your observations. Any other? I don't see you. If you show your hands, it will be helpful for me. Yes, Madam, I see here. Yes, Madam Sylvia, I think. Yes, yes. Please unmute yourself. Can you unmute? Yes, yes, please go ahead.
I was really amazed with the presentation of Madam Sarah. You know, when he was presenting the river flow, the ethnic group, you know, we can learn from that about wealth. Because during the time, even our parents did not use monetary. It's only when this material life create the money, monetary, could control the people. But actually, we don't need the money. We need the wealth of the soil, the wealth of our skills, the wealth of our spiritual wealth, because that was the original actually. So when we go back to the grassroots, well, we can have consultation, as Madam said, consultation and find a way how can we build up the life to improve, to uplift. Maybe we can find an open area and then we could make a social action on that. We make vegetables. We have the clean and green. We consult for the community building. That is a part of the community building. So that is one example when we included the people in the grassroots, in the community, that we could give example. For example, me, I can make a backyard garden. I can make a backyard garden and then show to my neighbor. And then when I harvest the vegetables, oh, can you please taste my vegetables? That is one way of encouraging. So we are talking about wealth. Wealth is everywhere. It is how we manage. And thank you, Sarah, for presenting that. And also, Sir Mr. Giti, you touched that also. And thank you very much. We learned from it.
Thank you so much. Wonderful, Madam Sylvia. Thank you so much. Okay, so we don't have so much time. Anyone else before I proceed to the next program? Okay. All right. So, dear friends, you know, we are actually reaching to the end of the program, and we have the last part of the program we call repeating the pledges. What we learned from the program, what we carry home, and what we're planning to do. You know, it's something like what we did in the schools, repeating the poems, prayers, rhymes. You know, we know that these programs are for raising awareness and learning and contributing to something to our personal life and society positively. Therefore, we're going to repeat the pledges related to the ideas that we discussed here, and we promise to respect those pledges that we repeat here. And we agree to amend the way of thinking that we had earlier, you know, and take actions in that regard if we are able to diffuse the kind of changed understanding across our society, the people around us. You know, it will be truly wonderful and contribute to several lives and our society. To minimize the noise level, I will only ask Adib to unmute a couple of friends. Just a symbolic gesture to repeat the pledges. All other friends can repeat the pledges, but it will not add to the noise because you will remain muted. So I will request now Adeep to unmute a couple of friends. Let me see who are all present. Madam Pina, you can unmute. You can unmute Madam Sarah, Madam Carol, Madam Lucinda, Dr. Vishwanath Mahanti, and Dr. Merchant. That's all. I think 5, 6 friends are enough. So I request Adeep to please read the statement of pledges slowly. You can also unmute. How many friends are unmuted? I think 5. Mr. Ajay Parida, you can unmute. Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay. So Adeep, please read the pledges, statement of pledges, and we will slowly try to repeat after you. Okay.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
We recognize that
Recognize
we as individuals
We as
individuals
individuals
and the society
and the
society
measure everything in monetary terms,
measure everything in monetary terms,
assuming it is beneficial
assuming
it is beneficial for us.
for us. We admit wealth
we admit that
has not contributed much
has not contributed much
to human and societal well-being.
to human and societal well-being.
We therefore
Therefore,
promise to go beyond
promise to go beyond
financial considerations
financial considerations
and reflect on
and
reflect on
holistic human well-being
holistic human well-being
while making decisions in life.
while
making decisions in life.
We admit that
we admit
We admit that
our attachment to money,
our
attachment to money,
material possessions,
material possessions,
and their accumulation
and their accumulation
have become the central objective
have
had
become
become the central objective
of our lives,
of our
of
life.
our lives.
and we have forgotten the spiritual reality
And we have forgotten the spiritual reality
of human existence.
of
human existence.
We therefore
We therefore
promise to make all our decisions
promise to make our decisions
in accordance with spiritual ideals,
in accordance with spiritual ideas.
value people
value people
by who they are,
Who they
who
are,
they are,
not by what they possess,
not by
not
what
by what they possess,
and ensure well-being of all around us.
and ensure well-being of all around us.
We concede that
we
We
concede
concede
that
that
money and material possessions
money and
money
material
and
possessions
material possessions
are now considered
are now
now
considered
considered
as ends in themselves,
as ends in themselves,
as central purpose of human life.
as
a central purpose
life.
of human life.
We understand that
We
We
understand that
understand that
it should not so,
it should not so,
as perpetual joy and peace
as
as perpetual joy and peace
are not found in these transitory things of life.
are
are
not
not found in these transitory things of life.
We therefore commit
we
We therefore commit
to educate people
to educate
people
to not let money plan their lives,
to not
not let money
plan
plan
their
their
life,
lives,
influence their goals,
influence their goals,
and take such decisions that
and take
and
such
take such
decisions
decisions that
he becomes the cause of peace
he becomes the cause of peace
and well-being of his fellow men.
and well-being of his fellow men.
We acknowledge that
we
We
acknowledge
acknowledge
that
that
our materialistic behavior
our materialistic
materialistic behavior
has given rise to a culture
has given rise to a culture
of consumerism
of consumerism
consumerism
that tries to satisfy selfish human desires and greed.
that
that tries to satisfy selfish human desires and greed.
We therefore
We therefore
We therefore
commit to control
commit
commit
to
to control
our lower nature
our
our
lower
lower nature
nature,
to balance between our personal interest,
to balance between our personal interest,
the welfare of the community around us,
the welfare of the community around us,
and take prudent decisions
and take prudent decisions
decisions
for mutual well-being.
for mutual well-being.
well-being.
We acknowledge that
we
We
acknowledge that
acknowledge that
money has been the dominant metric
money has been the dominant metric
to measure success
to measure success
in human affairs
in
in
human
human affairs
Affairs.
and agree it must be replaced
and
and
agree
agree that it
It
must
must
be
be
replaced
replaced
as it does not consider the higher purpose of human life.
as
as it does not consider the higher purpose of human life.
We therefore
we
We therefore
promise to embrace
promise to
promise to
embrace
embrace
the truth
the truth
the truth
that the purpose of our creation
that the
that the
purpose
purpose
of
of our creation
creation
from nothingness
from nothingness
is to work for betterment of society,
is to work for betterment of society,
be empathic towards the suffering of others,
be
be empathic towards the suffering of others,
others,
and center all our decisions
and center all our decisions
on the composite well-being of people.
on the composite well-being of people.
Thank you
well-being
very
of
much.
Wow.
Thank you, Adib. Thank you so much. Thank you, friends. Dear friends, we have initiated conversations for the betterment of some of the workplaces in some of the organizations. Please do let us know in case you would like us to help you in your individual efforts or at programs or any other forums that you may be associated with. You can contact us with the following address. I will put the address in the chat box. Please put the address in the chat box.
Good idea.
Okay, dear friends, it is the time for end remarks, the conclusion of the program. What have we learned from the program and what we are going to do after the program, how our life is not going to be the same, how we're going to bring about certain changes in our mindset. We already understood that we shouldn't be focusing on money to decide things in life because it hasn't helped us much. We have accumulated money and material possessions, but we have become knowledgeable, sophisticated, but at the same time we have lost values. We are managing with half-hearted relationships. We have become unhappy. We have become frustrated, lonely, and we are spending our resources actually on the betterment of our human mental health. So what has gone wrong? So we have already understood that we have ignored the spiritual dimension of life, the higher purpose of life. Let me paraphrase from the writings of Baha'u'llah. He says that the purpose for which the mortal man came to existence from nothingness is that they should work for the betterment of the society and work together in peace and harmony. This is exactly the message that we should carry home. We should focus on well-being before making decisions, both personal well-being and the well-being of the society. We assume that the personal decisions have nothing to do with the society, but in reality, it's not true. It does affect the society. And when we talk about well-being, we must understand that it does not necessarily mean only the financial well-being. We must evolve beyond money and think of physical, mental, social well-being in our decisions, the effect of our actions that we take. In other words, we have to strongly resist the line of thinking, the contrary line of thinking actually promoted by the forces of materialism, that the personal interest and competition leads to prosperity. The happiness comes from constant purchases, and we have to undertake the social responsibility. And we shouldn't be thinking that the social responsibility we can do some other time, and we can keep on postponing. We have already seen the consequences, the horrendous ideas that we built over the years, and what we observe around us that we have already seen. Let's not discuss about that. Let's understand that we should not use the language of our rights, our entitlements to justify our interest and our greed. It must be, we understand it should be restrained for the welfare of the community. Otherwise, we will continue to remain in a chaotic society. In the name of rights and entitlements, let us not promote ideas and narratives suiting to our interest. Rather, we concentrate on societal well-being. We have to accept that there is a moral dimension to generation of wealth, utilization of wealth, and acknowledging this will inspire us to think that we have to concentrate on human composite well-being when we take decisions. We have to understand that well-being is only possible through justice and generosity, collaboration, and mutual assistance. Let us understand that individual is not a slave to self-interest, is not a self-interested economic unit, only to claim the resources of the world as much as possible. Again, please allow me to paraphrase from the language of Baha'u'llah, the writings of Baha'u'llah. He says, man's merit lies in service and virtue, and not in the pageantry of wealth and riches. Do not dissipate the wealth of your precious lives by promoting your personal interest. We have to dedicate ourselves for the well-being of others and think about the higher purpose in life. We need to understand that we have no choice actually but to shift our focus from money and materialism, and this culture of consumerism has to go. Otherwise, it will bring about unimaginable disasters in the futures. Let us shift our focus to well-being, and first step would probably be to make efforts for a kind of sustained pattern of production and consumption, that we can actually protect the resources of our common homeland, the earth. We understand that bringing about this huge change of culture and mindset is not easy, but if we decide to contemplate as to who we are and the core purpose of human life, it would be a great help in changing our line of thinking. Once we accept that we are humans and there is only one human species created by the Creator, and we have emanated from one common source, bound with the same laws of God, it will be easier for us to make this mental shift from money to well-being. We will then understand that it is highly irresponsible and unfair to be selfish and claim only our rights and responsibilities. We will learn not to be indifferent to people's misery and pain and work for the common well-being. Our moral and mature behavior can only fulfill our aspiration of living in a peaceful and prosperous world. Let us decide not to complain, but to be proactive and not waiting for others to act. Let us work together, even by holding the hands of them, those who are still stuck in the past. Let us understand that our life, learning, our education are of very, very little value if they are not used for common good and for the service of the society. We must justify that we are humans and we are distinguished from all other forms of life due to the power of our intellect and wisdom. Let us, resolve to put aside our old divisive way of thinking, build bridges by not imposing our ideas and standards on others, shun fault finding and apathy and cynicism, reject the kind of violent ideas, controversial ideas, build everyone view everyone as a potential partner that we can work with and initiate positive and meaningful conversations that we learn from this discourse, from the presentation of Madam Sarah. Let us raise conversations with members of our extended family, our neighborhood, our wider society. It is only through raising awareness, meaningful conversations with everyone in the light of the divine teachings of God, we can cultivate conducive conditions in which human well-being can be ensured. The bottom line is that no matter how much religion has been detested in the society, how much it has been misused by people, the chaotic world can only be reconstructed by the agency of religion. No matter how much effort to do to set the human affairs right, but we cannot ignore religion. It is the only force that can engender true and inner motivation to be selfless, moderate, content, and contribute to the life of the society and its well-being. Inner motivation and virtues cannot be brought about forcefully. Therefore, let us respect religion, the divine teachers that appeared from time to time for guidance, and act accordingly. With this note, I thank all of you for joining us in this discourse. We will come back again in a couple of weeks' time with another crucial theme that affects the human life and all of us. I request all of you to support this small initiative and publicize it widely, and invite your friends and contacts to join our programs, because that is the only way we can consolidate, we can reinforce the educational endeavors, and build a constructive process in the society. From the core of my heart, I thank Madam Sarah, our keynote speaker today, who has been able to join us at this odd hour. I thank all the other friends who have joined us from the other parts of the world. Although it is late in the evening, I thank all of them for their time. I thank Dr. Merchant, although he wasn't able to read the course, probably he was on the way. And each and every one of you for helping to realize this program, to organize this program. I thank you for your constant support. Please forgive me if I have missed anyone's life, anyone's name. Please take care of yourself, your family, your surroundings, your community, your fellow human beings. Stay content and be positive in the face of all odds that you face in the society. Please do leave your contacts, your comments, your feedback in the chat box, and write to us. If you like the program, you can invite your friends and family. I pray for your good health and happiness. Namaskar, goodbye, and all the best to all of you in your future endeavors. Thank you so much to all of you. Bye-bye.